Hey guys, so if you're new here, just read the description below so you don't waste your time. I'm just kind of sitting here talking. That's usually what I do, so you don't get frustrated. Otherwise, hey, so the number 2 is significant to the reading, so I went ahead and wrote that down, and then I just put 2 candles. It's not a variant of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2s. If anything, it would be 22. But I really don't think it is. I think it's just 2 amplified. Nothing more, nothing less. So what do I know about Putin? I'm not much into the geopolitical sphere. I don't know much about politics in general, and so I'm not sure what I picked up over time, okay? I'm aware that they're kind of surrounded by China. They're surrounded by Ukraine, the issue that's going on with Ukraine currently. Today, I believe this is February 26th, so I will be posting this today. What else do I know? So I went to school, a public school system, so we did learn about Putin. I feel like as far as the public goes, as far as like mass media, there's a lot of villainizing Russia, but as far as independent thinkers or journalists, it varies, right? And so what we're taught is that Russia is an enemy in some ways, right? I don't think that it's like bad necessarily, but you know, anyway, you get the point. Not to mention our movies usually have the enemy as Russians, right? Russian spies, so on and so forth. Okay, so, and then there's an issue currently that I'm aware of where I believe Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and Russia said, like, Putin said he would invade if they didn't, like, step down from that. So, what I want to mention, I don't know if I've ever really like explicitly said this. I probably have, I just don't remember. So, as you know, I talked to the guardian angels of the person that I'm doing a reading on for the most part. It'll be the guardian angel. Sometimes I'll tap into the person themselves. But if someone's passed away, that's a different story, right? And talking to them. But on their lighter aspects, their more angelic side, right? So the pure side of their soul. And so with your guardian angels, they do not acknowledge your darker aspects, okay? So I think that's why some people might be confused if they're consistently watching me, of why it seems a little skewed, because your guardian angels skewed in a positive aspect for everyone that I'm doing readings on. There are a couple people that weren't so positive. It's because they're very dark-sided, okay? They're going away from their soul's path. And so their guardian angels are indicating, listen, like, you need to make a change in your life, right? We support you, but we have to stand distanced from you, okay? We are trying to guide you, we're trying to usher you into the right directions, we're trying to help you, but you ultimately have that choice of what you want to do in your life. And so we're not going to control you over your decisions. This is your journey. And when you're ready to come to us for assistance and help, then we will be there for you. It happens in God's timing, right? It happens in the timing that your soul desires and needs, which is not always the humanistic time. So you have to be patient and you have to just trust in the process. And so when we talk about all these lighter aspects of this person that I do reading on, these are all the positive things that the guardian angels want to highlight of all the wonderful things that you're doing right. There are so many beautiful aspects of a human being, the complexities of this person and their journey over lifetimes from the beginning of time. And we have a lot of similarities to each other on a soul's level, because we've lived so many different lives and have so many different experiences. And again, I say that as it's like a timeline, right? But in truth, it's more of like a ball. It's more of like one, it's just kind of like all encompassing. Like, it's a different perspective on time. It's a different perspective on reality. But for the human mind and for our way of investigating or explaining it, it's pulled into a thin line of reality. That makes it have a timeline. Okay. So the other thing that I know about Putin too is I saw there was this trending video about, I don't know who she is. I've never seen her, but she's doing like a poem or something. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the whole thing. I got to the point where she said, like, I'm sorry, your mom doesn't love you. I don't even, that might have been the first thing that she said. Or if it was like, if I was your mother, I would hold you, or I don't know. And I was like, what is she talking about? Because it's very clear to me, like extraordinarily clear, that his parents love him so much. So incredibly much. They're so proud of him. They feel like they're present. Okay, and I actually had a difficult time deciding, because their energy is so powerful, and his energy is, Putin's energy is extremely powerful too. He's spiritually very, very strong. I rarely see this type of energy in people, let alone political people. Very rarely. There's another person off the top of my head that he actually gets along with, that I feel are on the same wavelength. They're very, very similar in a lot of ways, because I feel, I'm going to get into the parents in a second. I want to talk about how I feel Putin's energy, which is, it's extraordinarily tender and strong, resilient, and unwavering faith. But there's a sense of, like, I'm gonna say it's fearful hopelessness. It's a tinge of that humanistic side of us that, when I say humanistic, it's like the darker aspects, right? Like, human in a lot of ways is like animalistic and dark. And because it's torn from spirit, it's torn from God. And so in that way, the hopelessness and the fear is kind of this looming feeling that I want the good of everyone, and I want the good of my people, and I want things to change, radically change in this world, but I'm being perceived and painted as something that I am in some ways, but I'm not as bad because I'm not as covert. And there's also not, when you look at it energetically, and this is his awareness, is that I'm aware that energetically it's still the same. But my intention is that it's kind of like, it's kind of like pulling the Band-Aid off of something where it's very painful at first, and it's like, we have to get through this pain in order to get to the glory. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, and I wish there was a different way, and I don't know of another way right now, because if I do, then that jeopardizes the good people, the good in people and the good people. And so that's the position that I'm seeing here. As far as NATO goes, I don't even know. I think that's like, I'm probably confusing that with the UN, where it's like a bunch of nations. Maybe that's like the trading. I'm not sure. Sorry, you guys. I've learned it at some point, and I will read up on that. I will try and be a lot more aware. Okay, it's just the issue that I personally have, and that's, again, just to repeat myself of previous videos of why I prefer to stay ignorant in a lot of ways, is because I don't know what the truth is, right? And so how can you rely on what people say, like even people on the ground, like of whatever the situation is? The perspective always shifts, always changes depending on who is giving this information. So how do you know what's true and what's not true? Especially knowing that a lot of the information, the supposedly trusted information, is not trusted. It's actually skewed information in order to change the opinions of people, in order to have them act in certain ways, right? It's a brainwashing technique. It's a manipulation. It's gaslighting in a lot of ways. And so even when you find an independent journalist that is well respected, well trusted, how do you know from there that they're still getting the full perspective? Or how do you know that they're not eventually going to get compromised, right? And so that's where intuition for me personally takes place. And it's very difficult when you have something in front of you, you know, even people, where they say one thing, right? But then energetically it feels completely different. And so if I just cut out what we see, then I can energetically pick up on what the truth might be. Right? And so that's why I do that. But I think there has to be a better balance. And so maybe, and this is also a lesson for everyone, of like really honing in on your intuition. Because if you go back to my global predictions reading that I did, I think that it's coming up. I think that's a long-standing global prediction that has started before I did that reading, but how it's playing out, continuously playing out, okay? Because I think this is a planned attack. Not this particular thing, I'm talking in general of a global prediction, okay? And so, from there, we can educate ourselves and see what, you know, in order to protect ourselves and protect other people. So anyway, with the whole NATO situation, what I'm seeing there is that Russia, his perspective, Putin's perspective, is that Russia is in a weak position, is continuously cornered by powerhouses. And this particular position that they're in means that the economic stability is not where he would prefer it to be, and their militaristic, or their military itself, is not where they prefer it to be. And I feel like there's a lot of disadvantages that Russia has in his perspective, and he wants to keep them safe, he wants to keep them protected, and he needs the assistance of other countries in order to be as powerful as he feels he needs to be, in order for them to not be overtaken by darker people. When I say dark, it's like countries that are run by darker people. I feel like his mentality is that I am continuously, I want to say he's a president, but somehow, like, maybe they don't have, like, stops to presidencies like they do here, or maybe he stopped it. I think it was, like he stopped it, and so he's forever the president. I don't know what happens to the people that are running against him, because he's painted as, like, a cold-blooded killer, so maybe, like, he offs them. I have no idea. Maybe they're still alive. That's just how he's portrayed, I feel. And so, yeah, I think that what he feels is, I have the interest of the people the good interest of people in mind, and so I feel like I have to be the protector of everybody, and I have to really find, I think there's people that he already has in place that he feels would continue this legacy as far as protecting Russia, because if they didn't have someone like him, he feels, then they would have been overtaken already. Okay. So what he's saying is, sorry, okay, I'm trying to think. The perspective that I feel, I'm not going to say this is exactly what he's saying. The perspective that I feel in general is that NATO is run by corruption. And Ukraine, he needs Ukraine to be, it's not on the same side as Russia, obviously, but it's kind of on like equal forces in the sense that they're not like politically protected and joined in on blatant corruption. And so for them to become even bigger powerhouses means that Russia has no backing, no political backing, are like something like they're less powerful, like they're cornered, even more cornered. And so eventually Ukraine joining NATO would cause an invasion on Russia. What I feel is that it's almost like American backed, like the US backed, but in truth, perspective that I'm seeing is that it's China backed. It's like China is attempting to become the one world, overtake the world, and so they have already infiltrated America, and this is through like purchasing places in America, selling their goods to America, raising sleepers, like people in America, in order to kind of like work from in and out. And so what I see is that Russia, like Putin, feels like it's a distrust. It's a distrust in America, and because America is China owned, basically. And China, I feel, is like blindly working with Russia to kind of like keep the peace in some ways, but is always on the attack. Like they're always trying to attack Russia. They're trying to invade Russia. But because of his position as being like a wall up, they can't ever really get in. So this is like their way of going around. And Ukraine is kind of like being bought out because what I'm seeing is like severe corruption on the political side. Severe corruption. And Putin, I feel, didn't want to do this. I feel several weeks ago that fear was setting in, that he's not afraid in the sense of like, he's not scared. He's scared for the people. He's scared for the innocent lives. He's scared that he is going to feel like he has to do this because it's for the good of everyone, without people really recognizing that. And that even the people that are on the ground that are soldiering this whole thing, that they have the capacity to go rogue and to take things further than they should, and that he wants. And it's a huge disappointment to him, because the way that he feels is that he was pushed into this. He tried to do this in a peaceful manner, and they're refusing. And he feels like he doesn't believe that it's a lose-lose situation, because he's an extremely intelligent man and he's able to figure it out. I mean, he's gone this far of like figuring things out in order to protect his country. But it's more than just protecting his country. It feels like he wants to protect even the innocents and the innocent lives and the Ukrainians that he feels are trapped. He feels like there's a lot of trapped Ukrainians, and he worries for them. And I feel like there's a big compassion, like his guardian angels are indicating there's a huge compassionate side to him, that he loves very deeply. Like he has a capacity to love very deeply, and he does. And that he's the kind of person that he does good deeds, but he does it in a roundabout way, where he doesn't get the notoriety for it. And it's a way of him being humble, because he doesn't want that notoriety. And they're also showing an analogy of being a grandfather and having candies in his pocket purposefully, so that when the grandchild comes and checks the pockets, they find the candy. And then they take, like he takes note of it, that the child comes to him and says, hey, you left this piece of candy. And because the child is honest, then he rewards the child even more, and like, good job, thank you so much, or not good job, but like, thank you so much, I had no idea I left that there. Have the candy, and you know what, like, have you been good to your mother all day? Yes. Have you done all your chores or whatever? Yes. You know what, let's go down and pick out a toy at the store or something. Like, he really, he dreams of a better world for everyone, is what I see his guardian angels are saying. They're saying all of this, so these are not my thoughts or predictions, obviously, because I have no idea. But that's what I see, is like, how do I leave this world better if I'm always struggling against evil? And how do I'm hearing specifically atone for my sins, because I feel very strong that he's a spiritual guy, deeply, deeply, deeply spiritual guy. And he speaks to his guardian angels very often. He speaks to God directly very often, and he prays for the lives that have been lost, on all accounts, very, 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 very often, and it weighs very heavily on him. But of course, I don't feel that that's something that, I don't know, maybe he does express those things. And I feel like he is more in line with potential leaders of America. There are leaders in America that, it's not the president. He doesn't, I don't feel, it feels like it, and is like foolish, like the American system is foolish. But there are people within the American government that he highly respects and values. They have the same value system as far as God really, like the good of everyone. And they're fully aware of the extreme destruction that is imploding within the systems. And he's more in line there than he is with his counterparts, with people around that are very dark-sided, very overtaken. And that includes people that are positioned near him as far as like geographically. And so he's well aware of his actions on the spiritual sphere, how that affects everything and everyone. He knows where he knows where his heart lies, and so he doesn't really have to say or prove that to anyone. And it's very sacred. It's very sacred. And he has high respect for people who are extraordinarily intelligent and hold themselves to high esteem. Those are the people that he deeply respects. As far as like people who are overly reactionary, who just kind of follow around without really thinking, he finds to be helpful in a way. Like what I'm hearing is like everyone has their place in the world and they all deserve a free life, is what I'm hearing. They all deserve a free life. Everyone has a place in the world. They all deserve a free life. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. So his parents are very proud of him. They love him very, very much. And they feel like a ghost in the room. It's like when you have ever had that experience where it feels like someone's there in the room with you. That's a constant. That's a constant for him, because that part of their soul, their identity as his parents, are very much with him, protecting him, supporting him, guiding him, paying their respects to him, and honoring him. The mom seems a little bit more like level-headed or like strict. I don't know. The dad seems more, I'll put it this way, the mom has no regrets necessarily. Like, she's very proud of him. So it's like, I understand that, like, this is, how do I say it? Let me see. There is nothing I would have done differently, because it's led you to where you need to be. You are exactly where you need to be. And even though you can't see the forest, it's like seeing the forest through the trees. We do. I do. Your father, your guardian angels, it's like cousins or brothers, like people that are also related to him, that are closer in age or they're a little bit older, a little bit younger, somewhere around there. We just love you so much. We love you so much. And there's a specific meal that he eats that maybe she used to make, or reminds him of her, or when he sits and eats at a certain time, he was thinking about her. And then this is just a confirmation that she was there. He could hear her, feel her. And I'm being drawn to this vase I have. It's a floor vase, and there's a bird and a butterfly. The bird's on this floral perch. There's like, maybe they're cherry blossoms, like, you know, pink, like that, flowers along it. Terrible rendition. And then the birds here, right? Long bird. And then the butterfly is here. It's almost like, you know, some bird, they eat insects. It's almost like it can catch the butterfly. It's like, you know, it's very beneficial. I was thinking because there's a wren that's building a nest here. Last year it was a dove. A dove built a nest. And so this time it's a wren. And they eat insects. And I was thinking how beneficial that is. Especially because there's a lot of mosquitoes. And there's just like a bunch of random bugs and everything. And in fact, some of these wrens, they will put, if they make their own nest, they will put spider egg sacs in the nest so that those will hatch and they will be able to feast on that, I believe. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure though. But that irregardless is being shown to me, where it's like, I mean, I would just take that analogy, how maybe it would make sense, because I don't know if I'm 100% understanding it myself, but that is being represented here. What I was going to say about the father is, the father is very much like Putin. You know, like, he has that really soft, sensitive side. And there's a part of him that, I mean, they both share this, but it's more strong on the father's side than it is the mother's, of wishing that things were a little bit easier for him as far as growing up. Like, I wish I didn't have to work so hard or whatever, and like, I just wish you had more, so that you can have like an easier life or an easy life. And it's like slamming, that's what I see, is like slamming his hand down, like, I'm like, yeah, that's my boy, like, so proud, like, slamming, like, yes, yes, like, celebrating him, like, really just, like, oh, like, just, he looks big to me, like, he looks like, he looks like a lot of the Russian men who fight bears, but like maybe a little bit thinner than that. Like, he just looks like a very masculine guy, and just like, that's my boy, that's my, that is, you know, my son. It's just very, they're both like very, very proud. And something about, they don't want him to go to bed without, like, either without a meal, or maybe like, it's like, I don't want you to go to bed hungry, or I don't want you to go to bed without a meal, or I don't want you to go to bed without, it's like almost like soup or something, like a soup, like without drinking soup or eating soup, or just like basically like maybe just taking care of your health, and also feeling at ease, you know, taking care of your mental health by having this healthy soup, even if it's just a way to calm you down, something like that. You will be safe, you will be atoned, is what they're saying. Like, don't, this is just, it's, I don't believe that this is a worry for Putin necessarily. It's just a big disappointment. It's like, I wish that I could figure out a different way to operate these things, and I feel like I'm constantly backed into a corner where I have to do this. There was a part of me through my life where I was it's like violent or aggressive, but I always had that spark, like that godly spark or that spiritual spark. Like, I never lost that. That never dimmed for me necessarily. But I was a fighter. I was very violent. I am like that in some ways. But I changed. Like, I grew up, I evolved, I expanded this spiritual side of me. And I understand, like, I had to develop this part of me, the darker part of me, in order for me to garner respect and know that I don't mess around, and prove myself to these other, like, evil people in a lot of ways, or mostly evil, mostly dark people, extremely dark people. There's nothing like him. But how do I, it's almost, it's like I'm out, it's not that he's outnumbered. I'm talking on a huge global scale, not what's going on currently. I'm not talking about that. This is something bigger, and it's his spirit, and it's like I'm working against evil. How do I alter this? How do I change this? It's like, it's kind of, it reminds me of, see, George Washington, I have a whole different opinion of. George Washington is nothing like Putin in like in a good and bad way. Washington is not really that great of a person, in my opinion. I know he's one of the founding fathers, but I think it was a manipulation, okay? I think this is a testament of how when evil people do things, it always backfires. Because the only true intelligence is good, is God, is holy. And so they try and outsmart by doing something that's self-serving. But in turn, look what it did. It created this political powerhouse, the United States, because they were trying to manipulate and the whole perception of freedom within this huge country, only to actually enact people with free thought. A lot of people with free thought, okay? And a lot of people who live here who are very blessed with not understanding the tragedies of true war that we see people are experiencing currently and have been for a very long time, and also third world countries. But anyway, so it's like the war, something about the Potomac, war on the Potomac. I don't know. I can't remember, because the only reason I know this is because I did Anyway. I did a reading on it, but where he ambushed people. It was like he was on, it's a very historical war where he went, or fight, or battle, I guess you would say a battle, where he had his soldiers go on the boat into the Great Lakes, and it was like one of the iciest times, like a really, really stormy time, and he ambushed them, right? And so it's kind of like, what I'm hearing is that this is a war on good and evil in a lot of ways, even though it appears to be something completely different. And this is no denying that there are a lot of tragedies, and there are a lot of people in positions where they can harm people, and they are directly harming people and doing it in a very terrible way. But I see on a bigger scale beyond that is that ultimately this is a war against evil, and it goes back in line with all my other readings that I was telling you guys about. It's a spiritual battle. There's a huge spiritual battle occurring right now, and the timeline is speeding up. It's rapidly speeding up, and so Putin is trying to slow it back down. And a way for everyone else to help slow this down, I mentioned it in my global reading, but I do feel that part of it too, of understanding how to survive and to break our dependency on technology and all these things, is to, like, all these things meaning like Instagram, TikTok, like all these social media things that we're connected to, is to be present in the world. That is the true time, right? Timeline. When you're watching things like TikTok, where it's a short span, it messes with your brain chemistry. This is all relevant, so I'm not even gonna think what you want to, or say what you want to say in your head, I guess. But it shortens your, it makes you reactionary. It trains you to be reactionary, and it trains you to be have like a short, what is it called, like a short time frame, like, you know, everything instant gratification, right? It doesn't allow you to have the normal processes of the mind. It stunts you. It makes you less intelligent. And so when you're more attached to the real world, then you'll see the way that time actually passes, and it allows your brain to function at a higher rate, a higher capacity. And then you can use these tools like the internet for things that can advance you. You can use it in a way that's actually helping you instead of harming you. Because right now, the majority of people are being harmed by it on purpose. They're being harmed on purpose. And so breaking those dependencies, it's going to pay off. And it's going to help you kind of understand what's going on, and get you in touch deeper with your intuition, and hear what's going on, because things are going to be rapidly changing in the world. Okay? Very, very, very drastically. And it's going to get a lot worse before it can get better, as we can see on a smaller scale. And so we need to pay attention. We need to start really taking this seriously, because that's what's going on. That's what's going on here. All right. So, yeah. Final message. Metatron and Gabriel, Indigo and Crystal children. You have a bond with children in particular. You can help children who are sensitive. It is time for you to assume your leadership power and position and lovingly guide others. I do feel that I'm going to speak as if I'm speaking to Putin now. I do feel like you, Putin, feel as if we are all God's children. I do feel that you look to your country as your children and grandchildren, and you look to the world as understanding the greater journey of everyone, and that you continuously pray for those that are victim to yours and others doing. I'm hearing just like Gabriel, I believe, is the one who tells of he calls people up from the dead. Or he may be the second coming of Christ or something like that. And I feel like you should somehow sound the alarm bells, is what I'm hearing. Your guardian angels are saying is sound the alarm bells. Metatron is coming through very strongly twice, and Archangel Michael. Focus on your highest priorities. I will help you get organized and motivated. I am protecting you against lower energies and guarding you, your loved ones, and home. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull one more. Gabriel again. So Gabriel and Metatron, make time to write down your thoughts in a journal or pen, an article, in a book. And then we have Michael, Gabriel, Metatron. I would look them up as you're guided to. But I do feel that they're saying, like, you have the power to outwit this situation that you've gotten yourself into. Find a way to connect to the right people behind the scenes that can help you, that can assist you with what you need to do. I feel like the message is going to be poison. That's a warning. It's like your voice will be poisoned, or your message will be poisoned. You need to be very careful of the advice that you receive from, it's not advice. No. It's someone's going to like promise you something, or they're going to they're going to say something to you, or do something like an agreement, but it's poisonous. So it's kind of like dropping your arms. So like maybe even backing out of whatever you're doing now, because the message is not going to be heard properly. Your thoughts, it's like a divinely guided thoughts that you've been receiving to let go of something, even though you're in the position that you are, to easily keep going, to back down, because there is a smarter way. It's kind of like going back to the drawing board. There's a smarter way, and you have to tune into your, it's like in truth, it's like tuning into your heart, right? Tuning into the spiritual side, because God will always lead you to the right answers, to the way that will best serve everyone involved. And so they are indicating that it's the message is poisoned. There's a poisoned message, and you need to just let it be released. Like here, Gabriel's letting go of this trumpet. It's like, don't think. I'm trying to see if I can get it. It's just be very, very careful. Take your time. Again, it's kind of like, pay attention to I would relate this same with the George Washington attack on the Potomac, or whatever that is, okay? So that's it. That's my reading. You are protected. You are guided. You can overcome this. Indigo is a very, very strong thing coming through as well. Whatever indigo means spiritually, I would look into the spiritual meaning of indigo. Okay, so Indigo, Gabriel, Metatron, and then Archangel Michael on the side. They are protecting. He's protecting you. He is protecting your home. He is protecting the people. There are a lot of angels on the ground, like spiritually speaking, not in human form, but they are here during this time, okay, of what's currently happening in the world news. All right, guys, that's it. Bye.